All right. Saving the best for last, I'll say, and to bring us home here on a go-to-market view of 360-degree cyber view, state of cyber today. I have three unbelievable CEOs, and as a CEO for 20 plus years, I have a lot of I don't know if empathy is the right word, a lot of inspiration and pride as well for these three CEOs, and also acknowledgement of the hard job that it is to be in this space. Gentlemen, really appreciate you joining. We've already heard from the early stage, which you just heard. We heard from the Wall Street community. We heard from CISOs. We've heard from sort of the AI world. And to bring it home for us in the last 30 minutes of this, I really want to take a minute to hear go-to-market trends and things from all of you. So joining me today, Jim Kavanaugh. Oh my gosh, great to see you, my friend, co-founder and CEO of Worldwide. And fresh off his sales kickoff, what an amazing speaker. Great event you had in Orlando. Thank you for joining. I hope you're in a warm place now versus some of the other guests that are here.
I wish I was, Dave, but no, it's great to be here. I appreciate you joining us last week. You were a huge hit, as I mentioned, not only hitting on the cyber side, but you talking about personal development and things and trials and tribulations of things that you had throughout your career was very, very impactful for our team and resonated in a big way. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you and everything you do for our industry, Jim, and great company and culture that you bring. Sean Kerins, also thank you for joining, my friend, President and CEO of Arrow, wearing the CEO hat now. Congrats on all your success, and thank you for the partnership as well. Where are you joining? Is you joining from Denver or from where?
Good morning, Dave. Yes, I'm joining from Denver, and I think I might not be visible, but that's okay. My picture is a couple years old, so it's going to do better justice to me than the real thing, and hopefully we'll get the video sorted out. But I appreciate you having me on this panel, a chance to contribute and to learn. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's an AI generated image of you, I'll just say. So I know you well enough that I'm joking a little bit. Jesper Trolle, thank you as well. Jesper, appreciate you joining. My good friend, great to see you. Exclusive Networks President CEO, thank you for joining. Okay, I'm not sure where in the world you are, but you're probably in a coolest city like Paris, right? Where are you at?
Today I'm in Paris, just back from Australia. So can I just say, Dave, well, it's great to be on again, and it's been a phenomenal event so far. So looking forward to hopefully do justice in this last session.
You know, Australia and Paris are a little far apart, right? I'll just point
I know.
out. Yeah.
What they say. Yeah.
You're looking good, my friend. All right, well, let's jump into it. Listen, between the three gentlemen we have here, we have an incredible visibility to the cybersecurity market, over 60 billion of revenues amongst these three gentlemen here. So quite a swath of things going on. Jim, I might start with you if I can. I know you're coming off one of your most successful years. I don't know if I'd say ever, but one of your most successful years in growing worldwide, expanding the business, expanding cybersecurity. Kind of how you encapsulate 2023, especially with all the success you've had. I'm really curious from your vantage point how you saw the market in that past year.
Yeah, very, very interesting, Dave. As you know, and the panelists and guests that you have here, I mean, just the last 5 years has been amazingly crazy. Between the pandemic and social unrest and interest rates, macroeconomic issues, wars, you name it. And then I would say the other thing underpinning all that is just this incredible disruption and opportunity created via digital technology and digital transformation. So we leaned into that aggressively, not only last year, but prior years, just in regards to building out software teams, not only helping organizations prepare and implement things that they need to build out their IT infrastructure, but also to be thinking about what do they need to do to leverage digital technology, digital transformation, to create a competitive advantage. And as we all know, 20 plus years ago, IT was really more of a back office function, didn't really get the time and attention at the board level, CEO level that it does today. And now when we look at it every board's looking at what do they need to do to transform their business digitally? What is that digital transformation strategy that they have? Now you look at things that are happening around both infrastructure and the way the world works. With COVID, we just accelerated probably the biggest use case we've ever seen, and that is hybrid work. And so hybrid work, now you get people working anytime, any place, anywhere. But now that needs to be done securely, and it needs to be done fast, and it needs to be done efficiently and with high quality. So all that requires tech infrastructure to do that. So we're aligned there. But then coming out, I would say, of last year with really the genesis of ChatGPT and generative AI really hitting the mainstream, that has changed everything. And then you look at the massive digital disruption that's been taking place and is going to continue, and the importance of every company, every board, every CEO. You look at AI and the impact that's having, and then you take that and it's like all that needs to be done securely. And every company needs to be thinking about, how do I move fast and how do I create differentiation? But oh my God, I better not expose myself, and expose the organization in regards to the risks that could literally bring the company to its knees. So those are the things that, and Dave, you and I have spent a lot of time thinking about these things, offensive, defensive things around AI, cyber. So my view is the organizations, the interest and the need for IT infrastructure and game-changing outcomes around digital transformation, AI, is more important than ever. And it's not just in one area or one sector, it's everywhere, every company. And again, I go back and just being redundant, cyber is right there. It needs to be part of the discussion and part of the strategy in every one of those cases. So we are seeing those types of things and trying to bring a more holistic view to that, I would say, narrative and that discussion with our companies.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for those comments. I want to come back to innovation with all of you in a minute because, as we go forward, this is really important. And you've done a lot of that, Jim, already. But maybe over to you, Sean. We're going to just imagine your picture on the screen right now. But talk a little bit about Arrow for a minute and what kinds of things did you see in 2023, and how are you looking at transforming Arrow as well, particularly with the size and scale you are?
So if you look at our IT go-to-market business historically, Dave, we kind of grew up in the traditional on-premise data center. And so you can read into that a whole lot of infrastructure, a whole lot of hardware, and that served us well. But as we all know, the modern data center has evolved pretty dramatically, and so too has our mix. So we've sort of been on this journey, which has been implicitly about more and more infrastructure software, more and more hybrid and multi-cloud approaches to solving problems for our customers, and more things that ultimately are getting consumed differently, right? We like to use the phrase as a service. Not only has that been by design, but if you think about it from a cyber perspective, cyber therefore has become a bigger and bigger piece of our mix. It's at least 25% of our total volume and growing nicely, certainly growing, well above market. And so, we've seen the data center evolve. We've seen it diversify. We've seen it become about a whole lot more than just traditional hardware. And therefore, our mix reflects that. I think the lesson for us, and probably the perspective from an Arrow, right, as a great big distributor, we sort of sit in between all the makers of technology, including cyber, and all those that sell, deploy and support those technologies on behalf of their customers. And so we get to help enable this massive indirect channel. And I think, I don't have to tell anybody on this panel how complicated cyber is, how fast it's changing. Your prior speakers talked about, how smart the threat actors are. All of that basically spells more and more cyber in our future for all the right reasons. But I think the channel becomes increasingly important. No one technology solves all the problems. No one solution provider can help address all the customers' needs, both in the large end of the market as well as the mid-market. And so enabling a diverse channel and a diverse ecosystem, and then helping navigate it on behalf of customers so they get, what they need to address their risk management, their compliance, and their cybersecurity requirements is exactly what we do. So it's been, a powerful force for us in recent years, and we expect it to be even more important going forward.
Congrats on all your success, Sean. Appreciate it. And welcome to being a public company CEO. It's really fun. So
yeah, exactly. I appreciate that, Dave.
Over to the other public company CEO, Jesper. And I want you to comment on 2023 for a minute, if you would, because you give such an interesting global perspective to us all, especially us Americans here, see it through that lens. But, being based out of Europe and, building global yourself, how did you see 2023 from your perspective for a second? I'm curious of that.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So, first of all, we're a little bit different than, WWT and Arrow, right? Because 90+% of what we do is cybersecurity. So we don't have what Sean alluded to as the sort of modern infrastructure and the broad range of solutions that WWT is taking to market. So everything we do is really cyber. And 22 for us was a very strong year. So frankly, going into 23, we were a little bit concerned about the pace and with the economic outlook. I would say the year have started, it's sort of a tale of two cities, if you want. The first part of the year was actually quite decent, but we started to notice a elongation of sales cycles, took longer to close projects, particularly in the second half of the year. And it allowed us to work with our channel partners on going back into their customers and cross and upsell on solutions. We also saw vendors that have, and some of your earlier panels spoke about them today, these platform-centric companies, whether it's a Palo Alto or Fortinet or CrowdStrike or SentinelOne, and these types of companies that frankly have more to offer a CISO in a period of economic uncertainty. Working with them and allowing them to deliver more of their solution stack into their customers is something that served us really well. In terms of sort of segments, I would say very strong growth in identity. I think that segment is still poised for a lot of growth driven by cloud, right? Suddenly the identity behind, who's accessing the cloud workloads becomes more and more increasingly important. Endpoint continues to be a big play. There are sort of, I think it's probably a three horse race with Microsoft on one end, and then sort of best of breed actors like a Sentinel and a CrowdStrike, and to some extent also Palo, who has assembled a pretty strong portfolio. And then in an area where we think we're going to see even more growth is actually in an old area called email security, because there's been a lot of discussions on this call about AI. And frankly, with AI today, you can generate phishing email at scale in a very sophisticated way. And this is still the biggest threat vector where perpetrators are coming in. So we see a lot of companies that are rethinking their email security infrastructure and how to ensure they secure their users and their assets.
Yeah. Jesper, appreciate everything you do. And you've made an amazing job taking that company public and growing and expanding around the world. I want to come back to Jim for a minute and talk about innovation, because I've been very impressed with Worldwide as well, just as I am Arrow and Exclusive too. But you've done some interesting things with your Advanced Technology Center, your cyber range, your go-to-market around innovation. And, I try to teach companies that are in cyber, 3,500 of them, they all can't be sold through you guys, right? You got to have like the ability to build a product for the channel, for the partner, and not just throw a product at you. It's got to be like ready to be made, and it's got to be innovative in a way. Jim, how do you think about innovation and maybe even onboarding partners, advice to product companies that might want your attention? So think innovation and how you might onboard them.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity, but also a big challenge, I would say, Dave, for our customers. As we all know on a call here, our customers, specifically, if you looked at just around cyber, there's so many different cyber solutions and products out there. They literally want simplification and consolidation, to bring that down to something that's more manageable. Well, then if you exploded that and look at all across IT, then, and you look at, some of the emerging tech, as you look at, Dave, what you're doing with really finding some of these early stage companies, customers want to see them, but they need help from organizations helping sort through what's real and what's not so substantive at this point. So we've built out this advanced technology center, just very quick, to really help be a filter, I would say, an evaluation, innovation infrastructure to help customers sort through emerging and mainstream tech and large OEMs of how their products work or don't work together in real life situations. So you're not just having an analyst write a white paper on what they believe should work and what shouldn't work, but we literally have the doctor working on the patient in the labs, in regards to what really works for that customer's infrastructure. So we do find that customers want to know what the biggest of the big are doing. What's Microsoft doing? What's Cisco doing? What's CrowdStrike is. We look at these different solutions. What's Palo doing? But they also want to know what's emerging and how do you help us more quickly evaluate, assess, test, and then deploy. And that's really what we've looked at. And then you bring these things together, which I just think, which I've mentioned before, the infrastructure is more important than ever, but digital transformation is really starting to be so mainstream. And then you bring AI and now cyber, and these things are coming at customers so fast, they really need help sorting through that. So our intent was to build these labs. And that's why, Dave, working with you specifically and your team being experts in regards to cyber in so many different ways, both from a technology, a governance, a strategy standpoint, is a huge value add to what we're doing in our labs and helping our customers bring really, really smart people and technologies together to make faster, better, smarter decisions about emerging tech and mainstream tech.
I appreciate those comments. By the way, this is recorded, so I'll pull that snippet out later for a replay. Appreciate this. So really great comments, and congratulations. Seriously, innovation at Worldwide is very impressive, and what you've been doing there has been really interesting to watch. Sean, maybe to you for a minute. I want to talk about how Arrow is innovating, and how do you look at all these vendors and how do you try to make, what vendor decisions can you make, and how do you start to think about onboarding them? And any advice to CEOs of product companies who do want to get your attention?
So it's a great question because, I learned a long time ago during my early days at EMC that the best innovation comes from your customers. And so the better you listen to your customers, and in our case, our suppliers, I think the more innovative you become. It is a question as to, which ones to listen to and how do you aggregate and prioritize all that feedback. You can imagine for us, we've got hundreds and hundreds of suppliers and then thousands and thousands of customers. But, we stay close to them all the time, and they kind of tell us where they need us to help them go. And sort of like Jim, we're doing a lot more and more in, what I would say is the long tail of our portfolio. In fact, it's the genesis for our relationship with NightDragon, at least in the cyberspace, which is, we've got a program called Accelerate, right? This came from lots of conversations with lots of our up and coming technology providers who are frankly looking for help to navigate this great big indirect channel, right? How do they get to market quickly? What kind of things that can they take advantage of to close deals and rev rec? Can they use our digital platform in a way that connects them to other technology providers from a solutions perspective? And by the way, avoid having to make a digital investment of their own in their early days. So we're kind of proud of the work that we've been able to do through Accelerate so far. As you well know, all the NightDragon portfolio companies have access to it and are able to participate in it. And so that's just one example. I was kind of pleased to hear Jim talk about, solution centers and proof of concept labs, because we've also deployed a couple throughout the world to do that very thing, because it's so hard to bring these technologies to life unless you give our channel partners a sandbox in which to play. So in Sweden, we now have an AI focused lab specific to how can partners help their customers take advantage of generative AI. And in Alpharetta, Georgia, we've now deployed one that I would call, more multi-solution, multi-vendor in nature, dealing with all the latest technologies that, the modern data center requires. And as I said earlier, the data center is a real diverse beast now, right? It's not just in the dark room with raised floor. It's in your pocket, it's in your car, it's in the plane, it's on the factory floor. So it's creating all kinds of great opportunities for all kinds of solution providers. And, oh, by the way, not so coincidentally, lots of complication and opportunity related to cybersecurity. So we kind of like the innovation path we're on, and we'll just keep doing our best to listen to all those suppliers and customers, challenging as it can be.
I love it, Sean. And AI lab in Sweden. I wasn't ready for that one, but that's a pretty cool background. And we share the old EMC tattoo, I think, for
yes,
many.
We do.
I can appreciate.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, me too. Proud of it for sure. Jesper, talk a little bit about your innovation. I know you've done some amazing things. We partnered on a number of fronts as well around how to bring innovation, but talk to that as well, because again, a lot of cyber vendors, a lot of people want your attention. Advice to them, and how do you think about innovation?
Yeah, I think you said it. This is a part of the technology stack that is super fragmented, right? You have whatever 3,500 cybersecurity companies, and there are more coming every year, funded by yourself and others in this space. And Jim said something that resonates, which is the indirect channels, whether it's a 1-tier or 2-tier with an arrow and exclusive in it, holds more than 90% of the spend of cybersecurity into end customers around the world. And I think a large part of the reason for that is obviously last mile integration of solutions and technology into the data centers and wherever they run their workloads. But a lot of it in cyber also has to do with trust, because it is impossible for a CISO or a CIO to figure out which technology is the better one, particularly in the field of emerging, fairly unknown companies. And there, I think, the trust and the relationships that the channel holds with these customers is absolutely key for the vendors, and hence why they use this channel so extensively. In exclusive, we always on the look for the next big thing. We have sort of a prescribed methodology we use to evaluate and assess technology companies that are coming in the cyberspace. A couple of the key things we look at is the management team, the funding, the backers. We try and get an understanding for what is the solution actually set out to solve for. Is it a new threat vector, or is it a better solution for a known problem? And then we evaluate it more with a channel-centric eyes, looking at, is this something that is broad enough that the channel can make money on it, or is it too niche and too focused, and therefore it's actually difficult to build a viable solution and go-to-market motion around it. We also believe that scale-up vendors need something different than what I would call scale-out vendors. And so we decided a couple of years ago to double down and acquired a business called Ignition Technologies that is kind of our launch pad, if you want, for earlier stage SaaS cybersecurity vendors. And they are doing basically everything for the channel, all the way out to the CISO. Of course, we are not selling direct, so we bring channel partners along, but typically these are vendors that are earlier in their life cycle, and therefore they don't have the same investment capabilities as a Palo Alto or Fortinet or some of the larger, more established brands. And so we filled that void for them, and taking their technology into the market, doing enablement of the field, demand gen, market generation, and also assessments and implementation if need be, by the way. So that's how we think of innovation. It served the company well over the last 20 years, and we are constantly on the lookout. I would say, however, just as a finishing note on this point, that there's also still a lot of innovation coming out of the existing vendors. So it's not only about net new all the time, right? You also have, Palo Alto have basically changed their entire portfolio since Nikesh joined, both through M&A and innovation and organic investments, and this will continue. So it's not just about new companies, it's also about doing more in the new fields like SASE and other areas where a lot of vendors are going at the moment.
Yeah, well said, Jesper. I agree with you. Innovation out of the bigs is impressive. It used to be, I called it R&D versus M&A, right? They had to do A&I, acquisition and integration, to get innovation versus research and development. And that's going to flip. You're seeing both of that going forward. I'll stay on you for a minute for last word because we have to wrap up. Give me one thing you're really excited about, Jesper, in 2024.
I think we're going to enter a market that is, it's going to be the opposite of last year. I think we're going to see some release of budgets as we start to seeing, the macro environment is becoming a bit more bright. I think some of the same trends I talked to earlier around endpoint, around email security, SASE obviously continues to be very, very hot. And some of the things you opened with, Dave, around, what did you say, 64% of the countries in the world is going through a democratic election, the regulatory requirements are going up. It's all things that's going to drive eventually more cyber spend and more focus on cyber. And even if we talk a lot about cyber today, it still remains a very small part of a typical CIO's budget. So, I think the future is bright for all of us.
Yeah, I can't agree more. We're lucky to be in this era, I think, from an opportunity point of view. Sean, last word for you. What are you looking most for in 2024 or excited about?
Well, with regard to the outlook for the year, I would say, from Jesper's lips to God's ear, as far as the increased IT spending, I think it's still kind of a mixed environment as we look out across the full year, but there certainly are some bright spots. I would just say, look, AI will continue to be a catalyst for not just our IT go-to-market business, but for our electronic components business as well. We're in the early days of the role of AI in the corporate landscape, but I think the possibilities are beyond imaginable, and so whole ecosystems will emerge, and we're going to want to be front and center in helping the participants in those ecosystems get established and get to market in a big way. So I think we'll continue to double down on that space, as will the market, but I think it will be a catalyst for years to come, and hopefully we'll see some of that this very year.
Spoken well, Sean. Jim, bring us home. Last words for us for 2024 and going forward.
Yeah, I would, Jesper, I think hit on some of the key things around cyber that I agree that are going to continue to drive opportunity and drive the market. I think, as Sean mentioned, just across the board, feeling out what the activity looks like, what the budgets look like, but overall, an AI is going to drive a lot. So when I look at it, we're actually pretty bullish on 24, even coming out a really strong 23. As I mentioned before, I really believe that digital transformation at the board level, CEO level, AI is just amplifying and accelerating everything, and it needs to be done very securely. So, those three things are massive transformations for organizations that either are going to look at it as a way to differentiate and compete and create new solutions and opportunities for their customers, and or ones that are going to be laggards that are going to need to fight off and fend off more innovative companies in their space. So I think there's just a massive opportunity out there with all that's going on, and we're in a very unique space. So I'm very excited about it, the future, and honestly, very excited to continue to partner with NightDragon as this market evolves in such a crazy and fun way.
Gentlemen, Jim, Sean, Jesper, thank you so much for joining. And just as a farewell to everybody, thank you to all the panelists today. Hopefully everybody got a sense of the state of cyber for 2024 from 5 different views of the entire market. And I just want to say thank you to all of them. And we heard a lot of really interesting things. I thought the sell side analysts, Wall Street side on the big vendors and what they're doing and how their growth outlooks are, to the venture capital ecosystem and their optimism, to the gentlemen who really deliver tens of billions to the clients that are on this one. But each one was very interesting. And I think overall, the future is quite bright. So here we are in a very highly regulated, highly threat environment. A lot of elections, a lot of things going on. But at the same time, it's interesting to be in this market segment. So gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. Thank you everybody for joining our NightVision State of Cyber event. Until next year, we look forward to seeing you. Hopefully we'll see everybody at RSA as well. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Dave.
everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.